So you've heard a little bit about the school-wide enrichment model, and the curriculum heart of the school-wide enrichment model is the Enrichment Triad model. It is one of 3 service delivery components that are a part of the SEM. Down the face of the cube, we have talked a little bit about total strength assessment, and we've talked a little bit about curriculum compacting and differentiation. And now we're going to introduce you to actually my favorite part of the school-wide enrichment model, and that is the Enrichment Triad model. Developed by Joe Renzulli in 1977, there are 3 types of enrichment associated with the Enrichment Triad model. Type 1 enrichment, which is general exploratory activities. Type 2 enrichment, which is group training activities. And type 3, or individual and small group investigations of real problems. That is the most advanced part of the Enrichment Triad model. Now, type 1 and type 2 activities are good for all children. We think all children should be exposed to new ideas. We think all children should be able to go on field trips, real field trips, should be able to have opportunities for virtual field trips. Type 1s can be books, can be online activities, can be speakers, can be DVDs and movies. Type 1 can be exposure to competitions, to new ideas, to the regular curriculum. You can have a type 1 that's brought to you as part of the regular curriculum, or you can have a type 1 that comes in from outside the regular curriculum, from something a student reads or hears about. And you'll see a number of examples of this. In a lot of ways, type 1 enrichment can lead you to type 2, or type 2 can be completely independent. So on the PowerPoint slide, you'll see some examples of type 2 enrichment. Some type 2 can be planned in advance, such as cognitive training, critical thinking, creative thinking, affective skill development, for example, studying biographies of famous people and learning their personality characteristics, learning how to learn skills, listening, communicating, writing, analyzing. Some of these can also be planned in advance. Most SEM schools have some type 2 training for all students, and then some that might be a little bit more advanced, such as this, using advanced research skills and reference skills for our more academically talented students. But again, some of type 2 enrichment is good for all children. We also have in type 2 written, oral, and communication skills. And the most recently added part of type 2 deals with the kind of cognitive technology skills, metacognitive skills, understanding what's real and not real on the internet, understanding what's viable, understanding how we can look for sources and authenticate them, and really understanding how to do research using the internet. So these are the general overview of type 2 enrichment, but there's another kind of type 2 enrichment that I'll also talk about, which is much more methodological training in type 2. So again, here's a set of sample type 2 activities: creativity training, critical thinking, research skills, teaching students how to do projects and online activities, creativity training, creative problem solving, and the type of type 2 training you can't plan in advance. That's what happens when a student gets interested in something, and that's methods training. Training in how to be a practicing professional, how to do something advanced, whether it be oral history or archaeology or writing family histories. And that, of course, leads to the third part of the Enrichment Triad model. And the third part of the Enrichment Triad model is the most advanced part, and the part that's usually targeted for those high potential advanced students that you work with. In this particular case, we see type 3 training, individual and small group investigations being interest-based studies, projects that you do online, independent studies, small group studies, utilizing research skills, coming off of competitions and contests, And so what I'm going to do now is give you a run through of all 3 types of enrichment in the Enrichment Triad model. And again, some of the skills and some of the training, some of the enrichment opportunities in the Triad model are good for all students. So here's an example of a type 1. This was a local historian who came to a school district to give a talk about local historical mysteries. He spoke to about 40 students, and you notice that the 4 young girls standing in back of him are students who were extremely interested and extremely engaged. We didn't need any kind of instrument to let us know which students might want to go further. So the 30 or 40 students that heard this speech all benefited from hearing it, but then these 4 students actually became much more engaged, much more motivated, and 2 of those young students actually completed a type 3. So we go from about 40 students that heard the type 1 to 4 students that got involved in some advanced type 2 training to 2 students who completed a type 3 in local history. Here's another example of a type 1. This is a person from a local bank talking about economics, the history of money. And again, in this particular group, only 1 student out of the 40 students that heard the type 1 wanted to go on and do something advanced. Here you see a type 1, and I want to point out that we work very hard to have these be balanced by gender. We have a woman here, or female engineer, woman engineer presenting on robotics. All students that were interested in this got to experience and understand a little bit of robotics, and only a couple of students, and I think she spoke to a couple of hundred students in various classrooms. Everybody was energized and excited about the type 1, but not all students wanted to complete advanced training or a type 3 in robotics. So type 1s can also be interest centers. This is a simple interest center on inventors and inventions with some how-to books down below and some task cards. And here's a slightly different interest center. And here you see a number of different task cards, posters, and opportunities for students to delve into areas more closely. We have books, we have exciting displays, and all of this goes into the development of interests and the development of a robust type 1 delivery center that can be used again for all students. The next very important point I'd like to make about type 1 is that every type 1 should have some kind of debriefing from a teacher. We should ask students, what did you find interesting about the presentation? Did this raise questions? Are there careers that this made you consider? Would anyone that you know would like to work on this more? Or would you like to have more contact? Would you like to explore a career? Do you have an idea for a project? When you do a debriefing, what can end up happening is you identify students who are really interested in the topic. So the next slide is a perfect example of that. We see a group of students who attended a type 1 on storytelling with 200 of their classmates in grades 1 through 3. And then of that group, 5 students were interested enough to do some follow-up on type 2 training, advanced methodological follow-up in storytelling. So the Enrichment Triad model can provide some enrichment for all students, exposing them to new topics, new ideas, providing them with a number of different ways that they can explore various interests, learn things that are extensions of the regular curriculum or things that they didn't ever know anything about outside of the regular curriculum. And then, of course, also provide them with advanced training in areas of interest. Type 3 enrichment is the most advanced part of the Enrichment Triad model. And this is what Joe Renzulli defines as a child thinking, feeling, and doing like a practicing professional. This is a type 3 completed by a student in an SEM program that won the Connecticut State Science Fair, and it was about photographing the spectra of the stars, the color of various stars. And the student worked on this for 6 months. Type 3s are often always characterized by intense interest on a student's part, and we like to talk about type 3s as students pursuing problems that are real to them or interests that are real to them. And there are four characteristics that make a type 3 a real problem. One is that the students have a personal interest in it. Two, that they use authentic methods. Three, that there's no existing solution or right answer. That is, that there's not one right answer. It's a much more broadened picture of what students should be exploring. And four, that it's designed to have an impact on an audience other than a teacher or even a classroom. How do type 3s emerge? Well, we love this diagram. Think of it as throwing pebbles into a pond. We build around the interests of a child. We build that by interviewing the student, by beginning to work on a management plan, which will be included in our SEM toolkit for you to adapt, use, modify. With the management plan, we like to think a little bit about the resources, the how-to, the methodologies for students. We try to think early on about audiences and feedback and giving them time to polish their work and revise and make it even better. And of course, we always think about finding appropriate outlets and audiences, somebody other than just your teacher. A real audience always makes students do better in their work. And I think that this is, of course, why we have the management plan, and this is why we move in this direction. So let me give you an example of a type 3 done by a student named Brooks, who is in an SEM program. He was a 5th grader. Recently, he said he was watching a television show with his mother about Sam, and so the type 1 in this case was actually a television show. Sam is a young boy about Brooks' age who had progeria. He heard Brooks said that Sam say he always had wanted to ride on a roller coaster, but couldn't because of his disease, which is a rare, fatal, congenital, unfortunately, genetic condition characterized by the appearance of rapid aging. Brooks said that he wondered about whether he could give Sam this experience of a roller coaster ride. So think a little bit about this young boy who began to work on a project that took him several months. He had the above average ability, he had the task commitment and the creativity to stick with something that took him months. And think about what Joe mentioned in Operation Houndstooth, the sensitivity, the understanding, the determination to follow through, and wanting to make the world a better place for Sam. So Brooks actually started studying, and think about the Enrichment Triad model, type 2s, and how to build roller coasters, how to design roller coasters, how roller coasters worked. He worked on this for months and months. He got a vibration chair. He went on roller coasters and videotaped from the front of the roller coaster what it felt like. He designed and worked on this for months and months and months, and actually ended up, again, designing a prototype of a roller coaster chair that people that had physical disabilities that couldn't sit in a real roller coaster could experience what it felt like to be on a roller coaster. This is a perfect example of a type 3 in action, and this is Brooks, again, a 5th grader from an SEM program in Connecticut. His type 3 made a difference for people like the Sam, the young person with progeria who unfortunately did pass away, but other people like Sam. Brooks also wrote to roller coasters, to companies, to people who manufactured them to see if they had an interest in having chairs like this at various places and various amusement parks. Another example, this is Kylie. Kylie got interested in ladybugs because of a lesson taught by her regular classroom teacher. And so she wanted to learn more about ladybugs. She spent months and months researching ladybugs and developing a board game. Her teacher found books for her in board game design, and rules, and how to do this, and also how to start and run a business because she wanted to actually produce a game that could be marketed. And Kylie was able to produce her game called the Ladybug Game. You might have seen it. You might actually have it in your home. And this was done as a type 3 as a part of a school-wide enrichment model program. And so the Enrichment Triad model has many opportunities for type 1s, from Students that, again, all students in a school, students at various kinds of seminars, various kinds of opportunities for them as a whole school, as a grade level, to be exposed to new ideas. Type 1s, Type 2 to learn how to problem solve, how to be a critical and creative thinker, and then of course Type 3s to be able to take ideas and develop them into long-term projects that challenge and engage them, and oftentimes become the things they want to do later on in their life. We have lots of research conducted on the Enrichment Triad model. We know that it works well for students who are in gifted programs, students who are in enrichment programs. It's used as a magnet theme. It's used as a charter school theme. It's used with students who have special needs, who have learning disabilities, who are twice exceptional. And the school-wide enrichment model and enrichment triad model is really the heart of learning and instruction in the SEM model. So we hope this brief overview of the enrichment triad model will give you some ideas about how you can implement this in your school. And of course, we'll be talking about this a little bit more when we discuss enrichment clusters.